What a great discussion with Ben Hartings. He survived cancer. He lost a child at birth. He had the worst of thoughts when football was taken away from him at a young age. You might know him. He was raised in St. Henry, Ohio, but he has built one of Columbus's most respected, faith-driven financial firms. Ben was absolutely fantastic. We had a great discussion. Today, he shares what he has learned about wealth, trust, and stewardship. Some of the topics we talk about that Ben talks about with all of his clients, really thought-provoking. How much wealth is too much wealth? He gives a simple answer. The two mortgages that every single family has signed, whether you know it or not. The most valuable things your kids own, and the single question that he asks every single client that you need to answer yourself. Check it out. Hello and welcome to the Purpose Matrix. I am very excited for today's guest, an old friend of mine, Mr. Ben Hartings. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Phil. How are you doing?
I'm good. We were just reminiscing, trying to figure out how old we were, and I don't know if we landed on the answer or not. But very similar in age. Grew up in small towns. Ben is rooted in St. Henry, Ohio. Now lives in Columbus with his wife Lynn, and they have 5 children, 4 living. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. But also one of 10 kids growing up. Huge family, entrepreneurial family. A lot of synergies that we have there as well. He's a certified financial planner and partner with Trinity Financial Advisors. Really a multi-family office. We might even talk about what that is a little bit, Ben, for people that might not know. Working with business owners, affluent families, entrepreneurs, and just a lot of perspective on family, generational wealth, and takes a faith-based approach to not just life, very, very devout, but also to his business. So Ben, we were joking that we're a bunch of old men here talking, but tell me about your maybe upbringing and transition to your career and how that evolved a little bit. Let's start there, background, and then we'll get into wealth, things like that a little bit as well.
Yeah, perfect. So, thanks. First off, Phil, appreciate you having me on the show and what you're doing with your career and the whole purpose-driven matrix, what God is doing in your life. I think it's amazing. Background, grew up on a farm, youngest of 10. I say a lot about my upbringing. I didn't learn a lot about life, but I learned what I didn't want to do, right? I had a very clear vision of what I didn't want to do. So, looking at, growing up on a working farm, really, every single day, like even in the summer, baling hay, baling straw, 12, 15 hour days, working before school, working after school. That's just I love the lifestyle, love it. And honestly, I still love getting into that lifestyle sometimes. It really prepared me for what in my mind, like, man, I don't want to do this. But it also prepared me for kind of that journey to college, and I was a college athlete and athlete in high school. Got all the all-state honors, all that other stuff. And I would say as a youth, one of the things that, looking back, I was really consumed by myself. I was an extremely selfish person. And maybe to a certain extent, I don't know if you can become a Division I athlete in any other way. So it's a little bit of, I even debate that now. I have a son who's 18 years old pursuing that same path, and just kind of coaching him and thinking with him on the journey. But that really formed me, right? Because all of that hard work, all the perseverance you got to go through as a farmer, up early in the morning, working late at night. When I landed in college, a lot of my peer group did not come from that background. I think, the agrarian society is still a declining part of our society. It used to be very large, now it's very small. So I was one of a very few people on a 120-person team that had that background. So when we would hit, morning workouts, 5, 10 in the morning, hitting the gym, honestly, my thought is, well, gosh, this is a gym, and I'm not shoveling manure. This isn't that bad. Like, it's pretty terrible, but it ain't that bad, And then, that was stripped away. Had a back injury, ended my career. I played at Miami of Ohio. A lot of people use this as things that people talk about when they introduce me. I did play with Ben Roethlisberger. My brother did play for the Steelers. He was on both of our teams. So that's like a common thing that people
Oh,
say.
I didn't connect those dots. I didn't
Yeah,
connect
yeah.
those
So
dots. Interesting.
he was drafted out of Miami. Came in same time, left same time. And then my brother was playing for the Steelers at the time and won a Super Bowl with Ben, the first Super Bowl, the 2006 Super Bowl. So, athletics runs in the family. How did finance happen? It actually happened out of the back injury. I kind of woke up and I realized that I needed a career outside of going to be a football player. I thought that's what I was going to do. I was going to follow my brother's footsteps. I was going to try to get to the NFL. I was going to try to make a career of that. When football was taken away from me, and the jersey was ripped off, at that point I needed to decide, okay, what path was I going to head. I was not in college with a light caseload, right? So it wasn't like when I was in college, I was taking some courses, I won't mention any, but you can kind of get the context of what I mean. I mean, I was taking math, I was taking stats, at one point I was thinking about being an engineer, so I did a whole semester of engineering.
That's not good for anybody. I was an engineer, not.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know, but it's like, so I was learning. So by the time I got to that point, that was my junior year. So looking at my senior year, I built a schedule, a very difficult schedule. It took 18 hours both semesters as a senior, and heavy caseload of finance and stats and accounting, and graduated with a finance degree. Got into banking, and was working with businesses, and pretty quickly, within 3 to 5 years, felt the entrepreneurial itch. And began to scratch it a little bit on the side, doing some things, remodeling basements, things of that sort. Nothing big. And then moved to Columbus. Reason I moved to Columbus is had more opportunity here, more family my age here. I had a sister who lived in Dayton, but she was a little older. But had two siblings that lived here in the area, and then my wife's sister also lived here. And then from there, I've kind of built a career in Columbus around the finance industry, which I can go into.
Ben, I want to ask a question about your back injury, because you probably had this path you were on of sports, athletics, football specifically. You had an older brother that had a lot of success, obviously.
Yeah.
And how much of your identity at that time was completely tied to, I need to be successful here. And when that back injury, and it was inevitable that wasn't going to happen, what was the mindset during that time?
It was very bad, to be honest. Mental health issues run in our family, and it's not part of the path we need to go on today, but let's just say there's mental health issues that run in our family, and they're generational in nature. So my mental health in those moments, when I learned I wasn't going to be a football player in January of whatever year it was, 2023 maybe, or I'm sorry, 2003, probably the right number. And so a time of year doesn't help. It's dark out all the time.
Yep.
All your buddies are doing the normal routine because I had back surgery in August, thought I was going to come back, got back to healthy, hurt it again, and almost one of the first workouts back in January. So I was, 5 months, 6 months removed from, a full back repair, and thought, I'm coming back, and boom, hurt it again. And at that point, it was done. It was done. It was very hard. Man, was it hard. I had suicidal thoughts, to be honest. I mean, so my entire identity was wrapped up in it. And, I thought athletic success was the only way I was going to be fulfilled. And I got to give credit to some organizations, an Athletes in Action organization, Crew, Campus Crusade for Christ. Give credit to the track team, at and my football team players, my buddies as well, those who are involved in Athletes in Action crew. So really at that point, that was when God became real to me, right? I would say, I grew up Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. I, to be perfectly candid, like when I was a junior, I rationalized that, I would go to church, I'd pick up a bulletin, then go to McDonald's, and I would come home and toss the bulletin on the table, and I rationalized with my parents that I wasn't lying to them because I had gone to church. That was that just gives you some context for
Right.
like where my head was. And then I would go work out. That's what I would do. So that it was this huge shift, and it took a solid 10 to 12 years to unfold, though.
Wow.
Phil. It wasn't like this like Damascus Road like experience. It took a long time. Started to read scripture for the first time, went to a Bible study for the first time, ended up, that year, actually fast forward by like another 7 or 8 months, I ended up being a leader with Athletes in Action my senior year on the football team and coaching. I give Terry Hepner, God rest his soul, Terry Hepner, head coach, so much credit because he grabbed me in February and he goes, "Yeah, you're not doing very well. Why don't you be a coach on the team?" And so then that spring, I was a part of helping coach, right? And
Yep.
then that fall was a part of the team as a coach and got a
Ben,
ring and a whole bit. Yeah.
how much do you think? So first of all, I think some major takeaways there is that I think mental health in general is a more common problem, especially today than even 20 years ago, that people probably don't talk about or recognize. And I think if you're going through that, what I would say, Ben referenced two different things, I think, things or whatever you want to call it, that got him through it. People, different organizations, teammates,
100%.
coaches, but people, and God, right? I mean, that was the two things he went to. But the other message is that wasn't, even though you had that discussion with coach in February, he got you through February and maybe a little bit of March and April, but it was a 10-year, 12-year journey and probably in some ways continues, I'm sure. But you also, if you go to your career now, you interact with a lot of really, really successful people
Yep.
that I don't know the nature of who you work with. I know they're successful. Um, and I'm sure their identity is very much or can be very much tied into what they do. Have
Yep.
you seen the same things you experienced as an athlete taken away? Do you see some of those same things in business owners and entrepreneurs today?
Absolutely. 100%. Um, and I would even, business owners, entrepreneurs, teachers, administrators, whatever it is um, that you're doing, you're finding where your definition is. What defines you? That's a great question I love asking clients. Describe you. What defines you? And you can really start to unpack, the idols of your life. I asked that to a client one time, and he shot back. It was an awesome conversation. He goes, "I love that question. When were you saved?" I was like, this is gonna be fun because he gets
Right.
it. Like, he gets it, and he started to question me,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, this is good. But then all the way down to individuals who, yeah, we work as just briefly describe multifamily office structure. We don't just do wealth investments, don't just do wealth planning. We're doing estate planning, taxes, integrating all of that into an overall plan. Do a lot of philanthropy planning. We just did our quarterly business review on Monday as a team. We do take as a hallmark of what we do. If we get the opportunity to work with, especially Christian families. Now, again, not all of our clients are Christian. Not all of our clients they're kind of all over the board. Democrats, Republicans, agnostics. We even have, some immigrant families who are, very successful. And then, And then 10 to 15% of our firm, because we own it, we can do what we want with it, we give it away. So we also have families that have very little. We have widows and orphans. And we do that intentionally. So we track philanthropy, just to, because we think that a part of wealth stewardship and my life, even the fact, because I'm also a cancer survivor, almost died, and that was a big shift. That was 10 years post college, because even carrying that same mindset forward, back to your question, Phil, I don't think my mind shifted from being, I was an athlete, to I'm a capital markets banker wearing a suit. Right? Look at my nice shoes, custom suit, nice tie, in the right circles, quote unquote, going to the hockey games, going to the la da 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 da, that was still, and I was troubled by it, but I wasn't able to define it. Right? Was troubled by it, wasn't able to define it. And I would even say when I was in college, I was troubled by it, but not able to define it. And it's such a joy that God has given me the ability that I married my high school sweetheart. She journeyed with me all the way through, so she can still be this external sounding board because she saw everything.
Yep.
Right? So it's like going to Lynn and saying, hey, was this the way I was in college? And she goes, you got a really, really, really bad memory. You were a lot worse than that. That's not good. That's not good. But it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder. When I hit cancer, and I learned that, I almost died twice. Late 2013, almost died once, and then in spring of 2014, there was another moment I almost died. Never coded, but it was close. Definitely was out. Didn't know what the hell was going on. Don't remember it. When you brush the veil, and that was right before that, we lost our son. So we had back-to-back body blows, big time body blows. Lost James, our fourth child, at birth, June of 13. Diagnosed with cancer, September of 13. And also just the dynamics of the timing. I don't want to get too far into the details because we have a short period of time, but I was at the peak of my capital markets career.
Right.
At that moment. I closed 3 transactions kind of back to back to back. Had in September of 13, days before I found out I had cancer, I closed the largest single hold securitization, and that's a bunch of lingo. It was big, for the 10th largest bank in the country. Really big freaking deal. 3 days later, found that I had cancer. So it was top, big bonus coming, to holy camoli.
What does this bonus even mean?
This could all go away in a minute. And I had melanoma, melanoma that spread. So melanoma's, I'm not, all cancer's bad, but cancers can be various risks. Melanoma's bad.
Yep.
And it was very aggressive. By God's grace, I'm here. That's part of the journey. But it really reset my perspective, and I ended up quitting my job on the backside of that, and a lot of stuff.
And I think if I go back to through all of this, for your college career, the back injury, your professional career, kind of the wake up call. First, I think a lot of times God will give you what you can handle, and He knew you could handle these things, but that doesn't mean He's not going to push you to the limit. And I like to use the analogy that, with our kids, we'll let them struggle, even go to a 1-year-old that's trying to learn to walk. They're probably sitting here saying, "Why won't anyone just pick me up and carry me?" But they just keep falling. They just keep falling. They just keep falling. And God knows what you can handle, and you just got to keep trying to get up and keep trying to get up and keep going. And it might take 10 to 12 years, but you got to keep going. But also, this question you asked, you like to ask clients, what defines you? I like to ask the question, who are you? Because so often in society, what do we ask? Hey, what do you do?
Exactly.
What do you do? And it naturally causes us
Yeah.
to go into this professional career discussion that I want to hear about your family. I want to hear about I don't want to just talk about, do I like talking about that stuff? Maybe. By the way, if you say, who are you? Or the answer is still career. People they don't know how to answer it. And if you don't want to start asking people, who are you? Because that's weird, that's fine. Ask yourself the question, what defines
Exactly.
you? Who are
Yeah.
you? Write it down. I mean, I think writing that down and getting clear on what's most important, what are the priorities, who are you? And your career can be one of the answers somewhere, but it should not be the first. You being an athlete might be part of the answer, but it cannot be the first, in my opinion. You are thinking through that and maybe even questioning it. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
No, so I was introduced to that question, what defines you, by a process post cancer. I got involved, I was invited. I also got my MBA at University of Dayton, which is part of the story. But I was invited post cancer to join an executive coaching session and didn't have to pay for it, which was amazing. Very, but still knew some of the professors. God rest their souls, they're both passed away now. Brother Victor Forlani in particular is a great man. And he invited me into this process to write your definition of success. So view your life in reverse, define whatever age you want, 65, 75, 85, 95, 125 if you're on some, you're in one of those blue zones, maybe you're going to live to 125. Whatever it is, but write your definition of success, right? And write it in reverse. What would success look like if you look back at your life? So I have it right here. I mean, I have it in Google Docs. I have it with me at all times, right? So I wrote it in various different aspects: family, faith, vocation, personal health, financial. And your definition of success can be whatever you want it to be, right? It's between you and God. And then ultimately, I wrote my definition of success, took about a year and a half. This was 2014, 2015. And then invited Lynn into the process, my wife. So she wrote her definition of success, right? And then from that, about 2017, 2018, we wrote our family definition of success. So what would it look like as a family, when we look back? I mean, so what are some of the things that I wrote down, like under family, number 5 under family? And I'm not saying these are in order, it's just number 5, right? Sleep in my bed with my wife at least 6 nights per week. So talk about okay, well that defines a lot of career choices right there, right?
Correct.
So I'm not going to be a traveling salesperson anymore. I'm not going to go for a week at a time. I'm not going to travel. Like, there was this guy in capital markets. One of the reasons it made the list for me was there was this guy in capital markets like 4 steps above me, and I could define my career path at the time in capital markets, and he had 3 different offices in 3 different cities, right? And he was an awesome Christian guy, but he had 6 kids. I mean, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to incriminate him, but I can still remember the conversation like it was. And he was away from his family all the time. Probably 60% of the time he was away from his family. So I just said, no, we're setting this line. And as I encounter things, the reason it's beautiful is once you write that definition of success, because what we deal with in America, especially folks like you and I, Phil, and maybe the listeners of this show, we deal with burdens that are different than the emerging parts of the world. So the burdens that we deal with are the burdens of opportunity. Okay? If you're in the emerging world, and if you've not, any listener to this show, if you have not traveled to the poorest of the poor, that is my number 1 call to you on this show. You need to go to the poorest of the poor and acknowledge the poorest of the poor do not live in America. They just don't. And until you go to Africa and your shoes turn red, you won't realize that. That was like Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa used to say all the time, come and see. Come and see. It will change you.
Yep.
The burdens that we deal with in America are the burdens of opportunity. They're totally different than the burdens of the other 2 billion people on earth who live in destitute poverty. I mean, they live in the burdens of necessity. Totally different.
Yep.
And it starts to awaken the mind to then, okay, I have all these opportunities. How do I make these choices? Well, if I have a definition of success, it's like a filter. I can take all these opportunities, drop it through drop it through my filter, right? And what comes out the bottom are so few opportunities. It's like, well, okay, I'm not willing to own a business in Washington, D.C. because I got offered the opportunity at one point to go work in the Trump administration. That's a little diatribe sidebar deal. Working for the Department of Transportation, I knew the guy who ran all of technology, and he needed somebody to run the finance side, and he wanted me to come there, and it was so quick. I mean, the first Trump administration, it was such an attractive opportunity. I'm like, got you googly eyes, and I'm not like a Trumper, by the way. It's just like, man, it'd be like, go work in government for a few years. That'd be amazing. Hold on.
Yep.
I'm sleeping in my bed 6 nights a week with my wife. Hold on a second. Ryan, what's your lifestyle like? Okay, that doesn't work. Bang, gone.
Right.
Like,
I think what's so important here too to understand is that I just had this discussion with someone yesterday, and there's this conversation of balance, but there's conversation that's, I think, more important of alignment or integration. And if you have your areas of life, let's just for simplicity, and I have this on app.thepurposematrix.com. You can go through this whole process. It's exactly what you just said. Faith, family, finance, fitness. I say define your purpose for each area. You say define success. You can do the both. And set goals around those, but get clear, because when you set what that is, if all of a sudden you get into your third or fourth priority is career and profession, and you want to do all these things, which happens to me all the time. I'm sure it happens to you all the time. There's opportunities. There's a million different ways to do things, but it is a complete and direct conflict. You're saying no because you're clear on your priorities, right? And you need to get clear on your priorities for your faith and your family, and those things need to drive your career. Or they don't need to drive your career, but your career needs to be aligned in support of those items. You need to make sure that. So writing down, if it's every area of life, whatever they are for you, how do I define success? Whether it's a purpose statement or 3 to 5 points, like number 5 on Ben's list, to be at home 6 days a week. I can't have 3 offices in 3 different cities, right? And it's just so important to get clear on that and use it as a filter for what you do.
Yep. Well, on the faith side, and I would say these things grow over time. Don't let it be stagnant. That's like another thing that I learned over time. You can write these things down and then they become stagnant.
Yep.
Right? So I'm looking at my list here because I have it up. I actually made an update. I'm like, I literally am typing, not because I'm doing anything else. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got an update to make. I get so excited about it now. But like number 4 under my faith section is have a part of my faithful works. And I added this in and I put the date on there. So October 1st, 2023 is when I added this. So I know exactly when it was added. Have a part of my faithful works that extends the reach of mission geographically to peoples I shall never meet. So have a part of my faithful works, because I am a Catholic, I do believe in works. All you Protestant listeners, we can have that conversation. But I love you, by the way. It's just, yeah, I do. I'm a huge ecumenical, and I say that jokingly. But have a part of my faithful works that extends, in mission to peoples I shall never meet. And then about 2 years after that, we actually said, Lynn and I want 50% of our works to be to individuals that we shall never meet. So like really set a reach goal in that area, and we're working towards it. Like we are working towards it. And then I list below it, I have 4 different bullet points that have been developed over it, and I can name the dates that they were added. They're on here. Malawi, Africa, Guatemala, cross Catholic outreach. We do that with our kids. And then the 4th bullet point under that was we wanted to go visit those that we shall never, because we can't meet all of them, but at least go meet some of them at least every 3 years. So as a family, last year,
I love
we
that.
took a missions trip and went to Guatemala to meet the people that we were supporting.
I
Right?
love that. And I
So
just
tactical, very tactical.
and but to build upon the point of the poorest of the poor, I was getting all excited because I was going to tell you about my daughter and I went on a trip. So also Catholic, but we went with a Protestant church to the poorest part of Columbus, where it is in the context of America
It's
extremely
poor.
poor. And
Yeah.
actually, I was talking to somebody, and they were shocked at that still happens in Columbus, Ohio. People think Columbus business community, Ohio State. There is the poorest of the there's the poorest of the poor in America, in
Yes.
Columbus. And even we're driving down the road at 2 p.m. There's prostitution on the side of the road. My daughter
100%.
was frustrated because we helped with the Bible school, and the kids would not listen. And I'm trying to explain to her. First of all, I said, appreciate discipline when we give it to you because these kids don't have it. And it's
Right.
probably their grandma or their great grandma that are the only
Yeah.
person at home. And if dad's at home or grandpa's
Yeah.
at home, it might not be good anyway for them. But it's just, it is, that was eye opening. We went to Belize, but that was for a vacation. But the church, so poor, so much poverty, and not even the poorest of the poor. So I have a note to like, I need to do the same thing, but just gaining perspective, I think, can really, really open your eyes. And I love that. To tie it to this, think about this, but go back to the exercise that Ben and I are talking about, which your areas of life, what
Yes.
defines
Exactly.
success, what like
Exactly.
long term, what do you want to achieve there? But what is, I think the part of it is, what is it doing for you? Like the poorest of the poor is giving you great perspective yourself to become a better version of yourself, I think.
Yeah. And then I learned along the way, I completely stumbled upon this, that as a Catholic, I would encourage everyone on the phone or whoever's listening, and Protestants as well. I read Catholic tradition. Like I know there's a whole argument of sola scriptura in tradition. The magisterium. Here's what I would say. Even if you don't believe it's Holy Spirit inspired, right? We could argue. So Protestants, set that aside for a second. Go read Catholic tradition. I'm just telling you. Like go read Redemptoris Missio by Pope John Paul II. An incredible document that unpacks every aspect of the mission of the Redeemer. Go back to Vatican II and forget the liturgy wars. Us Catholics, we got all that stuff going on. What kind of music is a guitar allowed in church? That's in there. Musicum Sacrum, Sacrosanctum Concilium. I've read it. It's awesome. I do know what the church teaches. Got any questions? Give me a call. I think oftentimes it's taken way out of context.
Ben
I'm not
has some
gonna go
depth
there.
if you're not grasping that, by the way.
Here's what I would say. Go read Ad Gentes. It's the capstone document. This is my opinion. It's one of the last documents published by Vatican II. Ad Gentes.
How do you spell it?
Ad Gentes. ADGENTES. Ad Gentes. To the nations. To the nations. Here's the deal. Who's the gospel for? It's for everyone. The only people who can go deliver the gospel are the people who have the means to do so. I tell my children the most valuable thing that you own outside of your faith is number one, eternity. The most valuable thing that you own sits in a safe in your parents' bedroom. You know what that is? Your U.S. passport. You have the ability to go anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. There's only 300 million people or so, 400 million people or so who have that U.S. passport. And then on top of it, you actually have the means to fly. Like, people ask me, how do I go on mission? And I ask them very simply, have you ever flown to Florida?
Right.
Have you ever flown to California? You ever flown to New York? Some people honestly say they've never flown. I'm like, well, okay, that's a little different. That's okay. I have that conversation. Most people say, yeah, I can fly, especially people in my community, for goodness sakes. If you can fly to Florida, you can fly to Guatemala.
Right.
All you got to do is go through customs. Ain't that hard, right? And then from there, it's just, you just go. I mean, it's not, okay, you're not going to sleep in the lap of luxury.
Right.
Okay, great. It's not that hard, you know? And I have a different perspective because I've seen what it's done in my family. Like, my family is so much more detached. And by the way, we are still very attached. Bought jet skis a few weeks ago as a fun. So we love having fun too, by the way. I mean, this isn't like, but we can balance these. Here's something, I'll just kind of mention it and mix this to a business conversation, Phil. So in Trinity, one of the things that we do that's unique is we don't just invest in public markets. We invest in private markets.
Right.
And one of the more recent funds that we had the chance to invest in is with one of the founders of Palantir, a pretty exclusive investment out Sand Hill Road. So they're investing in some of the emerging technologies of the world. Defense technologies, drones, some of the manufacturing stuff you're seeing if you're aware of the news, like Anduril, things like that. So an awesome opportunity for families of ours to collectively go invest in. Why do I bring that up? Well, because back to this opportunity, this burden of opportunity, right? So I do have the opportunity to go invest in those type of opportunities on one hand. So I can literally hold this up. I'll narrow my hand so you can see it on the screen. I can hold this in this hand. I can invest in the emerging technologies of the world. And at the same time, on the other end of this barbell, I can invest in the emerging people of the world at the same time.
Right. You have the means. You have the means to communicate the gospel. Right.
And I can do it in both spaces. I can do it in both spaces. I was at breakfast with the founder of this firm. At the end of the breakfast, he asked me, "How do you keep your kids grounded?" And I told him the number one way I do it is we get out on mission to people who are in great need.
Let's talk about wealth.
Yeah.
I want to talk about wealth because
Yeah.
you interact with some wealthy individuals. Let me ask this. We have a meeting tonight. I'm part of the Maria Stein Church, right? Had a catastrophic fire, burnt down a year ago, St. John Church, and maybe there's people from our area, but a broader area, and they're thinking about contributing to that over time. Help that person think through maybe some strategies. I'm just using, first of all, please do contribute, but more importantly, I think our collective goal would be in this conversation is to encourage philanthropy in general, whether that's going on a mission trip
100%.
or giving of your treasures, right? So whether this is just an easy example that people can wrap their head around.
Yep.
How can we think about this? Like as an individual, okay, I own a business. We do well. Maybe someone the listener's net worth is between $1 and $5 million, something like that. They have a nice income. I mean, kind of the demographic, right?
Yep. Well, I think so, man, you're asking a loaded question.
Perfect. I love it.
Let's start here. So I'll say this: the comments I'm going to make are going to be targeted at a specific, the Christian audience on this show. So if there are any non-Christians, I would encourage you to have that conversation first about who is Jesus Christ and is he your Lord and Savior. If you've chosen that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, my first encouragement is to begin to act like it. So, and if you want to begin to act like it in this realm of finance, whether it's the St. John's Church need or it's a need over in Africa, the first thing we need to recognize is the law was fulfilled by Jesus. The 10 Commandments still exist, by the way. People put them in their homes. Let's just be honest, right? The law was fulfilled by Jesus, not abolished. Now, it doesn't mean we need to go sacrificing animals and things like that. Why do I bring that up? Because the tithe of 10% is a given. So I would say, first and foremost, to anybody who has $1 million balance sheet, $5 million balance sheet, $100,000 income, $10,000 income, $500,000 income, you can study this. It's been studied pretty widely. Generally speaking, the more money someone makes, the less they give as a percentage of their income. There was a pastor one time who counseled with me. I'll use me as the example. This didn't actually happen, but I'll use it as the example rather than incriminating you, Phil. Incriminate me.
There you go.
There's a pastor who met with me, and he had known me for 10 years, 15 years, and my career had advanced over time, and I was getting to know him in the early years. I was making $35,000 as a banker, and I was like, man, $3,500. He goes, yeah, $3,500, 10%. Okay, I can do that. Great. Get a promotion, making $125,000 bonus. Go back to him, and it's like, man, $12,500. Yeah, $12,500. Okay, great, right? So, career goes on. Haven't seen him in a couple years. Move cities, get a nice promotion, maybe buy a business, get some real estate going. Now look at my tax return. It's like year number 9. I got to reach out to Father Paul. It's like, man, Father Paul, I got to get together. I need to chat with you. And he's like, okay, let's get together. He's like, I just made $450,000 last year. Like, it's like, I just don't know if I can give away $45,000. Like, that is a lot of money. And he goes, oh, let's pray. So he grabs my hands and he goes, well, Lord, would you help Ben make less money so he can give it? Whoa, what are you praying? Father Paul, what are you praying? I didn't pray for you to. Well, it seems like the more money you make, the harder it is to give away. So I just figure, that $35,500 conversation we had 9 years ago was pretty easy. Now you're making $450 and it's $45,000, and you're like, that's hard. So I figure I'd pray to make it easier for you to make less money. That's the first place to start.
Right.
Do you know Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior? If the answer is yes, live like it. And hey, C.S. Lewis, for those who know him, C.S. Lewis wrote one time about giving. Your giving should be a little pinchy. I loved how he said it. Should be a little pinchy.
Yep.
Like you should feel it. And grab your hand and literally just pinch yourself as hard as you can. If you can't feel your giving on a monthly basis, why is that important? Because New Testament giving is different than Old Testament giving. And New Testament giving is not 10%, it's everything. Right? When you read Acts of the Apostles, everything came at the feet of the apostles.
Yep.
And I think that's, again, I take that in context. But here's what I would say about to any community that has a church burned down or to someone who's in need. Like, you can be very tactically, as a family, you can be very tactically sound. Set up a donor advised fund, go to Schwab, Fidelity, go to your local community foundation.
NCF, Catholic Foundation.
Right, NCF, Catholic Foundation, wherever it is. You can go to the, you're in Mercer County, go to the...
And what I would kind of encourage on this, because it shifted for me too. I'll say that I shifted it because I was not doing it, and I've been working on it. But without saying too much, the process of a donor advised fund, what's nice is take it out of your check or take it out of your take it out monthly out of your one account and into that account. And then, by the way, at the end of the year, on December 28th, you can decide, if you know what your tax planning is, okay, I want to do a big lump sum that covers me for the first quarter of next year, whatever it might be, or Absolutely. I'll do double this year and less next year, right? You can control the tax implications of that with a donor advised fund. I think a donor advised fund is probably strategically or tactically the easiest way to do it. And it's just like people say, put 10% away in a savings account or whatever that number is for you. Do that same thing, and just it
allows you to hear the call from Phil Moeller when he calls and he said, hey, I don't know if you heard, the church burnt down and we're having a meeting tonight and we're figuring out how much people can give. Well, then you can start looking at a couple things. What's the balance in my DAF, donor advised fund? if you do this over a series of years, it's beautiful, because then you can go back and then from a planning point of view, right? From a planning point of view, how much have I put in there? What's the 10% been over time? Well, okay, it was $20,000 last year. It was $18,000 the year before. Honey, what do you think? We probably could commit, I don't know, we probably could commit $7,000 a year. Maybe we'll
Right.
do a $21,000 pledge,
Right.
to the, or maybe you're making a little more money, you're doing this, maybe you're putting $100,000 a year in there.
Right.
So it's like, wow, maybe we could do a little larger. And as it builds up, you have this storehouse of tithes, going back to Leviticus 25 or Nehemiah. Go read Nehemiah 13 if you're interested about this. You have this storehouse of tithes that is ready to be given when the Lord responsively asks. And it makes it such a joyful thing. I can just tell you, it makes it such a joyful thing. And for those who have kids who are of age, in my opinion, is anywhere above the age of 3, introduce them to the process of giving. Sit down at Christmas. Who do you want to give to this year?
Right.
Well, can we give to my Pee Wee softball team? Great. Boom, Pee Wee softball team, right? Boom, write a check. Put it in their name. Allow the thank you letter to come in their name. So they see
That's a
these
good idea.
things. So
I like that.
When we do cross Catholic outreach every year, I put it in my kids' names. They choose the project, and then throughout the year they get like 3 or 4 update letters. One just came in the mail last week for Daniel, our youngest, and it's amazing to see the eyes of a child light up over an update about a mission that they supported relative to the way I react. Right? Something comes in the mail for me, it's like, oh, it's just another letter, read it, kind of skim it.
One of the things I mean, honestly, at our church, one of the things that they introduced a couple years ago is when we do the collection, all the little kids go up and they do it in a basket up front, and there's 100 kids going up there tripping and falling. They get lost on the way back, but it just watching that. But honestly, letting them be, it brings me such joy just even thinking about it right now. But also, they're now a part of that. And hey, go grab $1 out of your piggy bank and you bring that. Like, that's not our donation, that's your donation, things like that. I couldn't agree more. Ben, I know we're limited on time here a little bit.
Yep.
How much wealth is enough wealth for somebody? For somebody that's doing well, making more money, trying to get ahead, how much wealth is too much wealth?
How much wealth is too much wealth? It's a simple answer, but it's very hard to process. Any amount of money that replaces your trust in God. Let me say that again. How much money is too much money? Any amount of money that changes your trust in God. There are scriptural answers to this that support that statement. There are 2 examples. You can read them in Scripture, and there are more than these 2. You can go through. There's tons of examples. I'll just give you 2, Phil. The first is the rich young ruler, right? So the rich young ruler goes to Jesus and says, what does it take to come follow me? Follow you.
Yep.
His answer is very simple, right? Give it all away and come follow me, right? He looks at his wealth. Remember that. He looks at his wealth, walks away sad, doesn't give it away, right? At the same time, 6 chapters later in Scripture, there's the parable of talents. 1 talent, 2 talents, 5 talents, right? The 1 buries it in the ground, 2 doubles it, 5 doubles it. So now you have, at the end of the day, when the master returns to hear how the master's wealth has been stewarded, the one who buried it in the ground is chastised, taken from him, and given to the one who had 10.
Right.
So now that one who has 10 now has 11. Two completely different answers.
Right.
Because the one somehow induced fear. I don't know what amount of wealth is too much wealth, because I can tell you that someone has had $100 million in wealth and became recognizably good, incredibly recognizably good. They never changed. And someone else had $1 million in wealth and became unrecognizable.
Right.
Someone else had $100,000 in wealth and became unrecognizable. Right? What amount of wealth is too much wealth? Any amount of wealth that changes your trust in God. So I think it's a trust question. Sit down. Okay, how can you practically do this? Do you lose sleep overnight, at night over wealth? That's like a really good one. Look back at your last year. How many arguments do you have over wealth? How many times a day do you check your Schwab account? You know, how many? These are things you can look at.
Yeah.
Like you can literally, for fun, go look at your phone, grab your phone, screen time, and you can see like when was the last time you opened the Bible app and when was the last time you opened the Schwab app.
Oh, I like that. I mean,
just simple. When's the last time you were in Laudate? If you don't know what Laudate is, it's a Catholic app that has the daily readings. When was the last time you were in that app versus your banking account app?
There you go. These phones that just pull us in all the time. Arthur Brooks is talking about this a lot, and like the living in the matrix, but the matrix that they're basically of the phone and the machine. But if you're going to do it, which part of it are you paying attention? Right? Are you looking at your financials all the time, or are you in your Ascension, or just whatever app, and what kind of content are you consuming?
Bingo.
This is a whole different tangent we could completely get on, but don't always be consuming content. You need quiet time. But when you are on your phone, what are you on, right? Are you on the finance app? Are you on social media garbage, or are you on the Ascension or whatever, Hallow or whatever it might be? That's your faith-based app. So Ben, this has been fantastic.
Good.
I've had a lot of fun. We're gonna have to do a follow-up for sure, because I feel like there's 5 more hours of knowledge I want to just pull out of you, and I don't know how to do that, but I appreciate you sharing so much. Really, really resourceful. How can people find out more about you?
Trinity Financial Advisors. You can Google us. We're in Columbus. You could find me there. LinkedIn. If you know Phil, get my number. He'll get you connected. I'm happy to be a resource to families of any means, anything that they have questions on, even on topics. Forget the means conversation. We've covered a fair number of topics today, whether it's cancer or mental health. I obviously can't take every phone call, but I'm happy to triage and connect you with others, or if it works for me, for sure. I feel like God has me in a position where I'm happy to steward my time and do so thoughtfully, and by God's grace, even here at Trinity, like we've got a relatively large team built around me now, so I have some capacity to serve beyond what I can maybe even do directly, but we can do it as a team, right?
Yep. And I'll just say that, I think Ben and what he's talking about here, but what it can highlight to you as a listener is whatever career you're in, whatever you are doing professionally, right? We talked a lot about faith and family, but whatever you're doing professionally, there is a mechanism there to have an impact. And that's where the alignment in different areas of life. So faith is very embedded. You've heard this clearly today, but faith is very embedded in Ben's professional life. And that's very intentional. That was not by accident. That was intentional through different careers, banking, all the things he's done. He maybe didn't do that right away, I suspect, but he's been able to integrate and align these things together over the course of time. So whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, whatever your business is, whatever your career is, profession, corporate, small business, whatever it is, you can integrate faith into what you're doing in some way, shape, or form. And by the way, if you're somewhere where you just are completely unallowed to even have those conversations, maybe then you should make a change. But you can definitely integrate it. You can definitely align it.
Amen.
And the last thing I'll say is you're doing it, Ben. So I want to ask you this question. If you step back and reflect, think about the adversity you've had, the challenges you've had, the career you've had, the growth you've had. Step back and reflect about how you do, what you're doing. How does it make you feel?
Oh wow, how does it make me feel? I feel very grateful. I feel I try to start my day very, very grateful. Just one, I'm grateful I'm alive. Two, grateful I get the opportunity to, have the education that I do. There's just even this morning, I woke up to an email from my friend in Malawi. We're supporting his family for the wife to go back to school to get an education. I won't go in that whole story, but like what a grateful opportunity. Yeah. What a grateful opportunity to have this opportunity to talk to you, Phil. Grateful opportunity to work with the families that I do. I think that is grateful that God didn't. I mean, my goodness. I mean, I could have, that there were people there in that season of my life where college football was pulled away, and people who grabbed a hold of me and said, no, your life's not over yet, bud. Let's go, right? Grateful. So I really feel like paying it forward. And that's what I tell people I support. Like, there's a lot of people I support in terms of just have over time. What can I do? I'm like, pay it forward. Pay it forward. Find the next one.
Yep.
And I just I want to steward what God has afforded me to do very well. And I appreciate meeting folks like yourself, Phil, after so many years, kind of reconnecting and hearing a similar heart. It gives me so much edification and joy to know that it's not just me seeking after the Lord and all that we do. I'll give people a phrase that has really transformed my life on your topic of work, right? A lot of people I meet say, well, I'll sell my business and then I'll go into ministry. I think you just got it wrong. Go read Genesis, the whole conversation. You got it flipped. But I think about this. God made the trees. We are to make the furniture. God made the trees. We are to make the furniture. This is a co-creation. He's invited us to work alongside him to subdue the earth, right? So whatever you're doing, you are actively subduing the earth, following God's call. And as you do it well, with excellence, with integrity, with discipline, those are the principles we run Trinity with, people see it. They'll see the image of God in you. Yep. And speak too. That's a bunch of baloney for those who say you don't have to speak. Speak it too. Simple stuff. Somebody asks you when you come in on Monday, what'd you do over the weekend? I went to church. How about that? Super simple testimony.
How are you doing today? Feeling blessed. Simple things. Right? Simple things. And I would encourage you, first of all, Ben, I appreciate that answer. And I think gratitude for all those things you said. I think gratitude, a grateful mindset for not just all the good things that have happened, but also the bad things and the failures and the setbacks and the challenges and the adversity we've had because of the growth from that, because that's where growth comes from a lot of times. So I think gratitude is a great word. And how are you going to anchor your day? I think is so important, and to do that first thing in the morning, to start with gratitude, is such a good way to anchor your day. And I would just say that the challenge from this call is to step up, if that's from a philanthropy perspective, or have a little bit of courage to say that really small thing that just says, hey, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. But not saying that to their face, but saying, I'm just feeling blessed today. I'm really grateful. Just super small things, super subtle things. There's opportunities. And then you can let that grow over time, and you can build in your courage. Ben, I appreciate this so much. This has been a lot of fun. It's been great reconnecting a couple weeks ago again today. As I said, I have a lot more to learn, but I appreciate so much you sharing, coming on the show. For the Purpose Matrix, signing off.